All right, man, what the hell is this? So Shams just dropped a thing about Kevin Durant and the Nets and this whole thing. And apparently KD wants Joe Tsai to get rid of Sean Marks and Steve Nash, the GM and the coach, or else he wants out. Did Kevin Durant actually believe that that was like a reasonable request? I mean, maybe it is. Like, would another GM just, or another owner, my bad, be like, all right, Kevin, this is what you want. Okay, cool, we'll do this, no questions asked. Listen, Josai already had that thing about a month ago or whatever, just basically being like, yeah, I'd rather have a 45 win team that I like than this, pretty much. And for what it's worth, I mean, Steve Nash, like, yeah, there's definitely better coaches than Steve Nash. I mean, I remember in that Celtics series, the one thing to remember the most was the amount of insane long twos that they were taking, and mainly just because the spacing wasn't always great. You know, it was like Kevin Durant operating out of the post all the time, and when you were facing that tough Celtics defense on top of you're also doing nothing to help yourselves in the math problem that is basketball nowadays, they didn't put their best foot forward in that series, basically, and you got to blame Steve Nash for some of that. KD still deserves blame for how he played in that series, don't get me wrong. As far as Sean Marks, I mean, what did Sean Marks do to Kevin Durant? I mean, like, did this all just stem from everything Kyrie related? Between everything that's been this offseason and not agreeing to the extension with him, and then everything from the previous year? I mean, that's kind of all I got. Like, what other reason does Kevin Durant have for just like, yeah, I don't want Sean Marks here anymore? Unless there's something else behind the scenes that we don't know about. And so now I'm like, okay, your outcomes are either KD does get traded for this insane haul. And by the way, there were three teams mentioned in that article that Shams had, specifically the Heat, the Raptors, and the Celtics. So I guess those are the three teams to watch. You know, Phoenix was the one like a month ago or whatever, but I don't know. Maybe they're out of the race now, like it's based on what Shams put there. And we could talk about those in a second. But it's either that or Kyrie gets the extension and then they attempt to be kosher. But even so, like with how public this is, like, is there any chance that Steve Nash and Kevin Durant could just like coexist at this point? I mean, in the case of Sean Marks, like maybe deep down Sean Marks will be like, well, I didn't really appreciate that, but I'm not playing basketball, so I can live with it. In the case of Nash, that's okay. I mean, this is definitely like a putting my cards on the table if you're Kevin Durant here. Maybe he didn't think this was going to go public. I don't know. Another possibility is just kind of nothing happens. And we just go into the season with Kyrie Irving on a 1 year contract and Kevin Durant on this like 4 year deal. Although I guess under those circumstances, does that mean that Sean Marks and Steve Nash are gone? Like they don't have to be gone. It could just be super duper awkward, I guess. I guess this is really like the last, maybe last, I don't know, moment of the Nets just being like, all right, how much do we want to cater to these two? I mean, we've already done the Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan thing, which was a joke from the second it began, them playing DeAndre Jordan over Jared Allen. Of course, Kenny Atkinson is gone, and I mean, the language around that doesn't say it's because of KD and Kyrie, but I mean, we all get it, right? Anyway, the last thing to think about are those three teams again. So, I mean, we've already got reports saying the Raptors will not move Scotty Barnes. And so then after that, it would be every single draft pick the Raptors can possibly move. And then you maneuver it with protected, unprotected to where it's allowed, of course. But then after that, there's no young star. I mean, the youngest player you could possibly get would be most likely Precious Achua, who's 22, Gary Trent's 23, OG Anunoby's 25. Like, those are good players, but in the return for Kevin Durant, it doesn't feel great. In the case of the Celtics with Jalen, I mean, I've talked about it. There was a whole video about it I did. I would not do it because I don't trust the shelf life of Kevin Durant's health. If he was 4 years younger, okay, different conversation. But he's not. As far as Miami, I mean, every draft pick you can offer plus Tyler Hero as your starting point, that doesn't really get me going if I'm the Nets. It of course hurts that Bam cannot be included in this move because he and Ben Simmons can't be on the same team because of that designated extension rule. Unless Ben would also be moving, of course. Let me just check real quick. When can DeAndre Ayton be traded? January 15th, 2023. And he is not a designated rookie extension because of, he went to restricted free agency, that whole spiel. Does that matter? I don't know. That's a long ways away. A lot of things are potentially going to happen by that point, but I figured I would at least take a look.